it's telling you some things about the mix that you imported. But what this meter is saying is that the mix has an headroom of -3. And I told you that headroom is what? The difference between the clipping level and the actual level of your mix. So it's showing your mix is good, is clean, with an headroom of -3. Alright. Number 2, the level of one side is different from the level of the other side. Look at the input. The input reads the value of -3 on the left side, and on the right side is reading what value?
0.0.
Good. So it means that the value of the left is different from, so the sides are not balanced. You should know that these values are in real time. So when you stop the music, the RMS runs down back to infinity, negative infinity. That is to the extreme 0. There is no value. Okay. So, but when you are playing, look at the RMS value. Because it's in real time, it's reading different values. So at some point -12, at some point -16. It means this song can be louder. Okay. So the -3 at the top, which is the peak value, is telling you that in the song there are some hit parts, hit points. You understand? At some point the song gets louder. The RMS value in real time shows that the song is very quiet. It's reading -16, negative 13, -10, -12. So you can see the maximum value the RMS was reading was -10. Okay. Now the peak value means that the maximum level at any point in the project is -3. It's also showing the dynamics. Okay. At some point it comes very loud, at some point it goes back to. The news is that at the right side there is no clipping, at the left side there is no clipping, but you have more headroom on the left side than the right side. And the RMS is telling you that there is no clipping, there is more good headroom in the project. Okay. And it's showing you how much loudness can be achieved with this project. Maximum RMS value was -10. It means you have 10 dB that you can push this song before you get to 0. So that is that for the meters.
Now that highest value you said is -10 that you got. I was seeing a -11, -12.
That's the other values. I said the maximum value.
Maximum is the highest.
Yes. So is -12 higher than -10? You understand? So -10 is the maximum, because we are dealing with negative values. All right. So we have talked about the reference. We have talked about the actual mix that you are bringing in, and we have talked about what the IO meter. So you have the mix down at the top, you have the reference below, and you have what your IO at the right side. Now let's look at this middle panel. This middle panel is where you had your processors. Now before we start talking about the processor, let's talk about the master assistant. Okay. What the master assistant does is that it listens to your mix down and it suggests the best mastering for it. But it's just giving you a starting point just to make things easier for you. Now let's try the master assistant, because that will introduce us to the plugins that are available in this plugin. So we click on the master assistant, then you have 3 aspects to it, from models to loudness, from loudness to the destination. Okay, let's start from models. Models, you have modern, you have vintage. Okay, Vintage refers to the olden sounds, and the modern refers to the modern sounds. So you want this song to sound modern or to sound olden. So he's trying to understand your perspective about what you are trying to achieve with your mixdown. So number 2, we are talking about the loudness and the EQ. Loudness and equalization. So manual loudness, under it you have the intensity. Intensity means what? Volume. It means the level. So we have low, medium and high. We want this song to be very loud, so let's pick high. Okay, now under the reference, let's look. This is the reference we are using. So if you have import more than one reference, you can choose from this drop down. Okay, but we are using this reference, so is going to be using this reference to calculate the EQ equalizer. We are trying to tell the program that we want our stuffs to sound more like this reference. So it's deducing algorithm from the reference and applying those things to our mixdown. Destination, that's number 3. At the end of the day, are you going to be distributing this song on streaming platforms, or are you going to be distributing it on CDs? For the best result, play the loudest portion of your track, and of course we have selected the highest portion of our track, okay, so that we can get the best possible result.
Is it active now? The setting you just did now under this master assistant.
We have not processed it.
We have not processed. So it has not entered.
No, it has not applied on your mix.
That one we selected before, when
you can see it at the background.
It's still in place.
Now,
okay,
this is it. You see? So
Mm.
we are analyzing the portion selected on the mixdown to the portion selected on the reference. Okay? So if this settings is good, we click on next. So waiting for you to play the audio. So we have to play this mixdown for the program to analyze it. So it has suggested this mastering chain for your project. Now let's play it. And
at this point, Dither is now active because there is we are processing already. There is equalizer.
Dither is not active. Without conversion, Dither is not functional. What do I call Dither again?
You called it.
This is an artificial analog noise.
Yes.
That is applied on your project whenever there is a conversion, 24 or 32 bits, and at the end of the day you want to be exporting as what? 44.1 and at the bit depth of 16 bits. So definitely there will be a conversion which will be downgrading, okay, so, from 24 or 32 to 16 bits. Analog noise that will be deliberately added on the project to blend your projects together.
So when you're about to export, that's when you click.
Yes, that is when you activate it if you need it. Okay, so you can see the noise. You can see there is an output coming out. Without it, everything is silent. But you can see from the output, you can see the meter reading. So there is a noise, and we call it analog noise, that will just apply on that project. So if you want to add more plugin to this, you have to take it behind the maximizer. Okay, so you ensure that the maximizer is at the extreme end of the chain. Yes, definitely, because when you add any plugin here, it's going to be ahead of the maximizer, so you have to manually push it
all
back.
these plugins, they came up because you did not open them.
Yes,
they came up when
automatically
you did your master assistant.
Yes, the master assistant plugin. So there can be more than this depending on the mix you are giving to the assistant. It can add more plugins to this depending on the issues it's finding on the mix. You understand? The quality of your mastering when using the master assistant is determined by the quality of reference, the accuracy of reference that you supply. Okay.
Now, that place that you have 1.0, the ceiling is actually
it's suggesting -1.
That's anything beyond that is clipping.
Anything beyond 0 is clipping. -1.
So when you were adjusting, were you going down or up the threshold? That's what I was saying.
If you are going down, it means you are adding more volume. Going up means you are reducing,
so
because coming down the threshold, because it's a threshold works negatively. So when you bring down the threshold, you are making it more active. You understand? You are increasing the amount of compression that will be applied on that project.
That ceiling was there automatically, 1.0.
Everything was there automatically by the master assistant. You understand? But you can decide to change it if you want less compression. So the loudest part is pushing down while the quiet part is rising. Okay. Let's first of all review what the assistant said. The first plugin he applies is the equalizer. Be aware that you can solo and you can switch off any of these plugins. For example, I can switch off all this. Equalizer, it increases the high a bit to introduce hair into the project, and it brings down a bit the low end. Okay, all these graphs will be different, depends on your mix. Okay, so it's analyzing the mix and it's suggesting an algorithm, a settings for it. Now on the equalizer you see analog here. Okay, so we have analog mode and we also have digital mode. All right, now to my experience, I know the digital mode is much responsive than the analog mode dB that the assistance is giving to the eye at a frequency of 17,851 Hz. Okay, so just very close to 18 kilohertz, and the point is around 17 kilohertz. Okay, so this 0.6 dB that the assistance is giving this frequency, it will be much noticeable on digital mode than the analog mode. This would be a very gentle and settled increment. So if you look at them, you also have what we call the stereo mid side and the left right. This is where it's getting more interesting and complicated. Side, this with the width, the mid, this with the centers. The centers, this with the focus. Those instruments that are focused, like the bass, the kick, the voice, they are focused. But other instruments can be on the side. The side comes in existence through the introduction of panning. There are some instruments, voices that you put towards the left side, towards the right side. Those ones are the sides, the side information. They are the one determining the width of the project, how fat the project is. This stereo is the combination of both mid and side. That is what you are hearing. Now there are sometimes you want to go into the information to go to adjust this information. So when you select mid and side, what happens? It splits the sides from the mid. So you have two EQ, which means that you can adjust the side and you can also adjust the mid. Okay, now let's solo the mid. Mid are those voices and instruments that are placed at the center. They are not panned. They are focused in the project. Most likely will be the kick, will be the bass, and will be the lead vocal, will be at the center. Every other information might fall on the side. If you have a project without sides information, that project will not be fat. It will be very slim. Everything will just be talking at the center. You will try to make the project fat, it will not be. If you had a widener, it will not be wide because those information, those ingredients were not there from the mix. So that is why we used to deliberately pan some things. So when we pan them, it increased the wideness of the sound at the end of the of the project. Yes, during making of your beat, mixing and all that, you are introducing this width gradually. So how much you can pan will determine how wide the project will become at the end of the day. For example, we now have a side information, maybe an instrument that was panned to the left is disturbing. So we want to tame that instrument. If we are taming it from the stereo, it will be affecting both the mid and the side. Now we want to go into the side alone. Or for example, the mid, the lead vocal, is having a frequency that is disturbing. If we remove that frequency from the stereo, it will also affect the side information. We now want to go into the mid itself and attack those frequencies.
Praying for this moment.
How is it sounding? It's sounding very center. It looks as if it's this TV that is talking. You can see the kick automatically disappears because the kick was not panned. You understand? So you can see the back off for so long. You can see the pad, the reverb, which is the ambience. You can see all those things coming up on the side, and you can now see that it looks as if the sound is coming from the sides. You can see the lead. You can't hear the lead, but you are hearing the reverb of the lead because the reverb is the ambience surrounding the lead vocal. Now if you want to change something in the lead vocal, we will be working on the mid, not the side. So what this is giving you the opportunity to go into the mix and make some correction. Do you understand? Instead of going back to your mix, it's giving you the opportunity from the mastering to adjust some things from the mix.